Eddie Hearn has offered Tyson Fury the Filip Hrgovic fight. Fury, we know, is looking for a summer fight. He's looking for an opponent. Filip Hrgovic is sitting on the shelf at this stage. The IBF had ordered Usyk to defend his title against Hrgovic, but then that got rescinded. And there's obviously Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois happening next. That's a WBO mandatory. So yeah, the IBF are being uncharacteristically patient. So that leaves Filip Hrgovic without a fight. I'm sure he would jump at the chance to face the Gypsy King. But would the Gypsy King be equally keen to defend his WBC strap against Filip Hrgovic? I seriously doubt it. I think that Filip Hrgovic will go on to be one of the top heavyweights in the world. He will win at least one world title, maybe hold multiple belts. That's my prediction on where I think he's going. I think people really have started to underestimate Filip Hrgovic off the back of that Zhang fight. But didn't the Joyce fight put it in context for you guys? That actually it was Zhang being a lot better than we all thought, including myself? Because that's what I took away from that Hrgovic fight. I didn't look at it and say, oh, wow, Hrgovic is no good. I looked at it like, wow, Zhang is much better than I thought. Because he was doing stuff in there that I didn't think he could do. He had abilities which I didn't think he had. So anyway, Hrgovic against Tyson Fury. I don't see Fury taking that fight. Unless Fury is forced into it by way of Hrgovic being mandatory for the WBC. And Fury, I'm sure, would come out, as Eddie Hearn suggested, and say, well, nobody knows Filip Hrgovic. I'm not going to fight him. Well, you weren't saying that with Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallen, were you, Tyson? Nobody knew them, but you still fought them. And the advantage of fighting somebody who nobody knows is they usually are a lot cheaper. You don't have to pay them as much. And we know Tyson Fury doesn't like to pay people a lot. You're talking about former undisputed cruiserweight champion, current unified heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk, who he originally, or his team originally, agreed to pay 50-50. A guy who made multi-tens of millions in the Anthony Joshua rematch, and you want to give him 30%. According to Usyk and his team, that would have been, 4 or 5 times less than he got for the AJ rematch? So if a fighter of that caliber is only being offered this pittance by Tyson Fury, imagine what he's trying to pay everybody else. So Filip Hrgovic, this unknown fighter, is going to be cheaper than Alexander Usyk and all these other guys, Mr. Fury. So you can't use, that excuse, oh, this person's out, overpricing themselves, like he tried to say with Andy Ruiz. And Andy Ruiz denied that, by the way. Tyson Fury has said that Ruiz asked for 20 million, and Ruiz has said that that's not true. Believe who you want. I'm not saying that Fury's necessarily lying, although we know he is a prolific liar. But could Andy Ruiz be lying in terms of denying that he was requesting 20 million? That's possible too. I don't know. But as I say, what I do know, or what I'm very sure about at least, is Filip Hrgovic is not going to be asking for anywhere near that kind of money. So if you want a summer fight, Mr. Fury, if Frank Warren thinks it's okay for AJ to fight Fury first and then go and fight Wilder in December, that makes no sense from a commercial standpoint, to be fair. I think it makes sense from a stylistic standpoint. As I said in a previous video, I think AJ's got a better chance stylistically against Fury than he has against Wilder. But if you're looking at it from a commercial perspective, it makes sense to take the bigger fight commercially first. Because if you lose, even if he were to lose against Fury, his next fight, unless he really pushes Fury close and has a great performance in losing, his next fight, he's going to get paid significantly less. At this point, he's got a huge payday on the horizon against Deontay Wilder. If he was to go in there and, let's say, lose to Fury conclusively, is that huge payday against anybody else still there? No, it's not. So Frank Warren's saying, oh, well, if AJ goes and loses to Wilder, the Fury fight's not there anymore. I'm pretty sure it will be there. As long as AJ continues fighting, the Fury fight will always be there, I think. Because Fury just fought Derek Chisora in a trilogy. Derek Chisora. If he can fight Derek Chisora in a trilogy fight on pay-per-view, he can fight Anthony Joshua even if AJ gets chinned by Deontay Wilder. So no, the Fury fight's always going to be there. That's absolute cap from Frank Warren. If AJ was to fight Fury first, Fury before Wilder, and lose, the Wilder fight would be nowhere near as big. He wouldn't be getting paid the kind of money the Saudis are apparently looking to pay him. So yeah, that's that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. The prospect of Tyson Fury fighting Filip Hrgovic, I don't think there's a chance in hell he takes the fight. I hope he proves me wrong. I think there's more chance that he'll actually fight his chum, Jarrell Miller. I call him his chum because Jarrell Miller, was it last year, was actually in the UK sparring Tyson Fury. He said he got his butt kicked, by the way, in that sparring, which is interesting because Jarrell Miller's been coming out, talking a lot of smack about British fighters and how they don't have heart and all this kind of thing. But with Tyson Fury, at the time, he admitted he got his butt kicked in training. So he's not talking spicy like that about Fury. Although, obviously, he's been saying recently that he would step in and fight Tyson Fury if he gets the opportunity, and he would give him his first loss. You'd expect him to say that, right? He's trying to pitch the fight to the public. So, maybe Tyson Fury and Jarrell Miller deserve each other because they're both pathological liars. They've both popped before for banned substances and received bans. With Tyson Fury, it was a retroactive ban. With Jarrell Miller, he's had several bans. I mean, Jarrell Miller's the worst of the worst when it comes to PEDs in the heavyweight division. Nobody more prolific a PED cheat than him. And obviously Tyson Fury has no issue with it. He invited men into his gym and, took pictures together, and they all smiles and hugs and cuddles. And when he was asked about Jarrell Miller, he said, "That's not my business." That's what Tyson Fury always says now when he has these questionable associations. Now, personally, I don't really care about his association with Miller. There was a big scandal about it at the time. I think a lot of people thought it was, poor taste or a morally questionable thing to do to be bringing Jarrell Miller in. I don't care. Miller had served his ban, and maybe you think his ban is inadequate, but that is the ban per whichever sanctioning bodies and governing bodies in the United States. So it is what it is. If we were to ban PED cheats for life, how many fighters who you enjoy watching wouldn't, there would have been lots of fights, to rephrase it, that you enjoyed watching that wouldn't have happened if PED cheats had been banned for life. Think about it. Think about the likes of Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury himself, Dylan White, right? Like Alexander Povetkin. And plenty of fighters failed PED tests that went on to be in great fights. Do you think it would have been better for you as a fan if they'd been banned for life and those great fights hadn't happened? This is the kind of dilemma that we find ourselves in when we're talking about PED cheats. So that's my take on Tyson Fury Miller, but Fury Hrgovic is a fight I'd really love to see. I think that, and I've always said this, it's not me, looking at things with 20/20 vision in hindsight, right? Hindsight is always 20/20. No, I've always said that in my view, Hrgovic is a tougher fight for Tyson Fury than Joe Joyce. And yes, Joe Joyce beat Hrgovic in the WSB. That was a good fight. I beat him on points over, 5 rounds? But styles make fights. Tyson Fury is not the same guy that he was, the same fighter that he was a few years ago. I'm not saying he's better or worse necessarily. He's worse at certain things. He doesn't have the legs that he used to have, but he's developed technically in other areas. But, all that combined, and I assess the situation, I think that, and I've been saying this for at least the past year, Hrgovic has a better chance against Fury than Joe Joyce ever did. I would like to see Tyson Fury versus Filip Hrgovic. Can't see it happening, though. Tyson Fury does this thing where he likes to sit on the sidelines, watch the division beat itself up, and then carefully pick who he's going to fight based upon styles, based upon the commercial value of the fight. This is what he's doing. It's the Mayweather method. If you haven't seen my video called the Mayweather method explaining it, then click the link on screen at the end of this video. You'll see the Mayweather method. I explain it very concisely what it is. And that's what Tyson Fury's doing. With Alexander Usyk, he's hoping that the guy gets beat or gets old or gets damaged fighting these young guys like Daniel Dubois, and I guess he'll have to fight Hrgovic next if he doesn't get the Fury fight. Fury's waiting on the sidelines for Usyk to start deteriorating, and then he'll jump in and, okay, I'll fight him now. Or if Usyk gets beat, Fury can say, oh, I told you he was no good to me, and you guys thought this guy could be, that old game. But I'm alerting the fans to it, so if that does happen, you guys can call it out. Yeah, because Mayweather got away with that for so long. People getting beat and then him saying, oh, you thought he could beat me? Yeah, you didn't beat him, Floyd. Someone else beat him. Styles make fights. Who's to say that that guy a few years ago couldn't have beaten you, But he was carrying on with all that nonsense. So we can't allow Tyson Fury to try and do the same. Fury is no Mayweather either. Mayweather, way better resume than Fury. But as great as a fighter may be, and Tyson Fury's a fantastic fighter. That's one thing I've always said about him. Fantastic fighter. But it doesn't mean that he isn't up to nonsense. It doesn't mean that he's as good as people think he is either. He's very good. But is he the greatest of all time? Is he even the greatest of this era? He hasn't proven it. To prove it, you have to clean out the division. That's what it takes to legitimately be the greatest of your era. You have to clean out the division. That's what everybody else did. How come the bar is so much lower for Tyson Fury in the minds of all these different people? That somehow he doesn't have to do what Lennox Lewis did and clean out the division. what Muhammad Ali did. Why doesn't Tyson Fury have to do the same? It's incredible that people could just, even Simon Jordan, I called him out for this, saying that Fury is the greatest fighter of his generation. Based on what? How many of the fighters of his generation has he fought? Wilder, Deontay Wilder and Dylan White. That's it. 2 fighters of his generation that he's fought. Never fought AJ, hasn't fought Usyk, hasn't fought Joe Joyce, hasn't fought Hrgovic, and all these other contenders that are still around now, knocking on the door for a world title. These guys are in his era. So he hasn't cleaned out his division at all. He hasn't fought Andy Ruiz, that's another one. Come on. And yet you're acting like this guy is the greatest fighter of his greatest heavyweight of his generation. The man hasn't proved it. If he is, let him prove it. He's not pulling the wool over my eyes and trying to hoodwink me into believing this stuff. He has to prove it in the ring, just like all the other great heavyweights of the past did. So I'll leave it there. Give me your comments in the comment section. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.